All right, we're live. Hey, everybody. How is everything going today? So, today we're here with Mike from Spread Paranormal. I'm Brian from the Academy of Sorcerer, and we are sans our freighter Lux today. But in the interim, we still are up to some crazy shit this week. Mike, what you been up to? Ridiculousness!
Been up to a lot of stuff, man. First of all, let me close this shade so my face don't look like all holy and stuff. Um, I I've been having fun, man. I've been doing some weather spells, and I've been doing some card readings for clients, and well, just talking to nature, man. I've been getting real close with nature lately. I don't know if you've been checking out my Facebook page or not, but I have a murder of crows that I feed. I have a pigeon. I have a blue jay. I have a couple doves. Like, I mean, just spending time with nature, reconnecting my inner self, getting to know, like, it's, your basic shadow work. But I found when you work on your basic shadow work and you get to know you, everything else on the outside just falls into place, man. It's just, it all lines up. It's great. Like,
Very much so. That it does. So, when you're dealing with all the community, right, there's a few of us that are doing stuff each week. What would you say for the people that are looking to learn sorcery, that want to come into, okay, so it's not general witchcraft, this is something specifically different, right? What would you say to those folks?
I would say start with meditation. Get to know your inner self, your vibes, the energy that you're putting out, the energy that you're taking in. Spend some quality time with yourself. See, a lot of people don't want to do that. They just want to take in their everyday daily activities, go about their life, push down all the bad, just live in the good. You can't do that. In life, there's what's called a balance. You're going to have good and you're going to have bad. And it's all on how you react to that good and bad that influences your inner self. See what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
So you have like your yin and your yang, your good and your bad, your male and your female, your inner self and your outer self. And if one of them is off, you're off balance.
Right.
And being off balance, well, we know that ain't good. So when you actually start to reconnect with nature and you start to pay attention to your surroundings, the signs that the gods talk to you if you just pay attention. Like, they never went anyway. They're still here. It's just society has been like, I'm playing God now. No, you can't pay attention to that. Look over here. Like, there's so much stuff in our world today that distracts us from the truth, that people lost who they are. So if you're going to get into, practicing wizardry or sorcery, or, your dream is to become a Gandalf and help society, or, whatever the case may be, start with meditation. Start with knowing the inner you, because the inner you is going to have a lot to do with who the outer you is going to become.
So, question for you then. In terms of connecting to spirit, connecting to power, this week was the first week that you've actually gone through and done your first client work. You did your first summoning and the interactions with spirit. You did all of these really impressive milestones for what it means to be a sorcerer in the modern day, right? What would you say about stuff like that you went through? What would you say about interacting with spirit, those energies that you used as the catalyst for the first time you did these things?
Well, other than writing everything down, pay attention. And a lot of it, there's a reason the world has hermetic principles. There's a reason the universe works the way it does. And the first part of the natural law is mentalism. Again, that goes with meditation. Like, a lot of people are technically empowered. You know what I mean? Like, so
when
Learn
you
to balance that.
but so like when the thing is when you interacted with that energy the other day, would you say you were in a meditative state, or would you say you were in a day to day, just like your run of the mill, like everyday kind of awareness?
It happens in both now. Before it would only happen when I would sit down and smoke a bowl to get out of pain or something. Like I would be in that relaxed, calming, soothing, meditative state. Now it hits me whether I'm in that calm meditating state or whether I'm doing my daily everyday activities. Like I get, for instance, if I'm doing a tarot reading, and I ask the question, I get the answer. Or if I'm just sitting there thinking, it's like, well, I wonder if this would happen. All of a sudden, you hear thunder and lightning start raining. It's like, I better stop thinking. I'm thinking a little too hard. But again, it's connecting with the forces of the universe. Once you understand them and you understand yourself, that, like Carl Sagan said, we are made of star stuff. There's a reason we witches use as above, so below, as within, so without. We're all energy. It's all vibration and frequency, and that's what I was telling a friend the other day. He's a musician. So everything was done through frequency. I was like, the Nazi sequence, frequency, like, when you understand these things, you understand how to talk to these entities. Being a paranormal investigator, I've spent over 10 years studying the other realm, studying the entities of that realm, the scary stuff, the not so scary stuff, the ones that are just lost and are like, I don't even know I'm dead. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of that happening too. But when you learn, when you're sitting here and something slides across the desk and it's like, most people are like, whoa, no, it's like, okay, I know you're here. All right, let's get the pendulum or the tarot cards. Let's communicate. There's a reason you're getting my attention. In modern day, they've been taught to fear that. That's evil. That's bad. And it's really not. In ancient ancestry, they were doing that type of thing. They were communicating with them types of things. Queens and the kings, who would they look to? The Magi's, the wizards, the sorcerers, the seers. You know what I mean? That was our job. That's what we did. We communicated with the gods. We didn't just, we're not like Christians. We don't bow and worship. We work right alongside with the gods. They communicate with us. We talk to them. They understand us. So much as so as, if I'm sitting here filming, I'll see something shoot across the screen as I'm doing a banishing spell or something. You know what I mean? Knowing, okay, well, that was seen. That was clearly somebody heard me. Confirmation like that goes a long way.
Yeah. When faith becomes fact,
Right.
that's the hardest part for most folks to get the skinny on the situation, right? Is like, oh, faith is good on Sunday. Oh, faith is good over in these situations. What do you mean you can compress your faith and have it create a resonance to shift the environment that you're in? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you got to experience some of those things for the first time beyond just spoken conjure. You got to do the full body gestures and the funneling of energy through your system. What do you think about that? What was that like as compared to the normal way of just like do the spell and say the thing and like poof, there it is. Like, what's the difference?
When you work with that energy and you understand that you're a receptor, you're a batter, but you can actually form and manipulate that energy. Okay. When you're working with it, when you're working with it, it's a totally different feeling than when you're actually taking in the energy from the universe. Like when you're taking the energy from the universe and you're pushing out like all the old bad shit that you've taken in for the day, like that feeling alone is just all powering. Like if you're not ready for it, it will knock you on your ass. It'll make you tired. It will drain you if you don't know how to bring it in and properly put it where it needs to be. Like, it's just it's fucking awesome. The phone even agrees. Look at that.
I mean, And we're at the 10-minute mark so far, and I think that it's just a good reminder for folks that you've been on this path for 10 years, learning it in the classical ways, the historical ways, the ritualistic ways, and now you're doing it in this kinesthetic one-to-one between you and the power over the last 7 months, right? And you're getting all of these new kinds of manifestations. What's it like now as opposed to what it was like 7 months ago before you started like doing the thing, right?
7 months ago, all right, 7 months ago, I had to use things like EVP recorders and EMF detectors, REM pods, things like that. And anymore, yeah, I'll take this along just because it's extra documentation. But when I go into places now, I don't really need that stuff. I just need me. And I can feel the energy, whether it's good or whether it's bad. I can hear what these things are saying. Like, like you'll walk across the hallway or something and you'll hear cat, and it's like, just hold off a minute. You don't even know I'm here. You just know that I can hear you, I can see you. And if I ask them answers or I want answers bad enough, I don't use the EMF detector and the REM pod. I use the tarot cards, the oracle cards. I use things like that, the pendulum, the real witch tools. And that was a different transition for me when I came back and learned how to use my craft instead of man-made tools, which are good. Don't get me wrong. For anybody, that's good. But if you're practicing sorcery and necromancy and you're getting in tune with these entities and you're becoming one with spirit and you're learning how to work with this energy, you won't need them. You'll be able to converse. You'll know that you're in line with the universe when crows start coming to your window and looking at you like, hey man, what you doing? I'm hungry. Feed me. You know what I mean? Like, how more in tune with the universe do you get when you have a murder of crows that watch over you? 7 months ago, I didn't have that. 7 months ago, I wasn't able to talk to Boris and be like, hey, I need protection. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't able to give honor to Thoth for the wisdom and knowledge that I have,
And so here's the thing, right? We're saying that we don't necessarily worship these things. We identify them. We can identify them by name. We can identify the current that we can call it. But these aren't things that we deal with as the classical slave and master of the Abrahamic God, right? There were specific lines and keywords in those phrasings that you were using the other day that we used to elicit a very specific response. Can you talk on that for a little bit? Because I want it to come out of your mouth what you did. Like, that shit was epic.
Well, I mean, like when you create your chants or your incantations and stuff, there's a specific way to talk to these entities. You can't just say a chant and expect for something good to happen. You've got to say, okay, I call forth the gate of no east, from the north, from the west. You got to know, and you got to be passionate, and you got to confront these gods with no fear. Like, if you show any ounce of fear, you're a bitch. You gotta be equal, man. You've got to be confident and know that, okay, I'm doing this for the will of humanity. Like, this needs to change. This is for the better of society. Let's put Hollywood behind us and all that bullshit bakery, because that's not how it is, man. Yeah. We all are built with a pineal gland. We are all able to work on our chakras and open this up. Like, we're all able to communicate, and they know that, and that's why they feed you calcium. Like, when you're able to talk to these things, man, you find out that a lot of Hollywood has ruined a glorious thing. That's the only way I can put it.
It's easier to fake something then spend the time and dedication to do it right.
Right. Exactly.
You know, it's like we went through a class, the two of us, on Sunday with Keith from Raven's Alley, and he was teaching on folk magic, on amulets and talismans.
Yes.
And I tell you, man, he opens his mouth. I'm always learning shit.
Oh, what? Any class he has, I'm like, hey, sign me up, please. I want to go Icelandic magic or Icelandic sorcery. Come on, who wouldn't want to know chauvinism? You know what I mean? Like Icelandic magic and all this different folk stuff that you don't hear here all the time. Like that fascinates me. You know, that's why I got into looking up the Mayans, the Aztecs, the
Okay. You know, the trolldom stuff with Johannes is just outstanding. Like, for those in the audience that are watching or looking up an interesting title for books to read, Trolldom is actually a really good one that I would recommend. And for those that are wary of things that mention the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, right? You can supplement those with the sun and the moon and the stars above. You can supplement those with the mother, the child, you know, the divine families. There's greater forces that are out there. You can go older, you know. If you, I try to. The purpose of the summit, I believe, to stay true to the idea that we talked about the first time, is to create rituals of connection, right? To create these spells, rituals, ceremonies, these things that we're doing for the community, right?
Right.
But we're also testing how we live our lives by these things. And it's not that we're trying to do like the Reshvel Helios, where it's all hail Ra, all hail Helios, all hail these kinds of things. We're not naming them. We don't need to name them. We can circumvent the name of the thing, and we can just identify it as the divine thing that animates the principles of life. Thank you for that.
We are all fun.
Thank you for the sun, the moon, like the bigger things that are part of creation that we will never be able to recreate ourselves.
Right.
Like that's an astounding experience. And for the people that don't understand the connection between the star stuff outside and the star stuff inside, that's okay. They don't need to. Those are secrets for inner temple shit for later. Like that's all part of the mysteries, right? Like that's why they call it the mysteries. Some people will find that mystery, some people won't, and it's the path of the spirit, right? And it's how we connect to spirit and how we are tested on that connection. And that's what matters most, right? And so as you're going through and you're getting these connections to things, as you're going through and you're learning how to connect to the air and the earth and the trees and the roots and all of these things, right? You've been doing that. What would you say to people that are trying to develop those connections early on? Early stage people that are looking to develop that connection to spirit.
Again, I would have to say, analyze yourself. Work with your inner self first. Because before you start working with spirit and elements and things outside of you, have to know you. You can't have any repressed anger. You can't have any, thing that bothers you inside. You've got to be complete. You know, I've seen a picture earlier. It says, you can't lose your demons if you find comfort in them or something like that. And I responded with, well, I'm not trying to lose my demons. We play very well together. And we do.
Yeah.
You know, there's good and bad. You get rid of the bad, you're off balance. You just have good. And it doesn't work like that. In everything, there's a bad and good, a positive and a negative, a top and a bottom. Like, the only way you're going to become peaceful on the inside is if you become peaceful with it. You keep pushing negative feelings down and holding things in and just, it doesn't work that way. That's the first thing that's going to ruin you. Don't even try to do this practice if you're not willing to work on your inner you, your shadow, and become one with it. You got to be a yin yang. You've got to have good and bad. I got to go back to the Chinese metaphor. That's so true. You are not complete unless you have the good and the bad in one.
And that's the thing. And so you know, in like the entrepreneurial community, right? Dean Graziosi will say that if he's got something that is his inner game that he doesn't want to deal with or address, he'll step over it, right? He'll just figure out a workaround and he'll just move on to something else and not have to face it, right? And then we've got folks that refuse to do their shadow work, right? And they're trying to do spell work. And then we've got people that are refusing to do the basics, right? Because they don't think that the basics are necessary.
They are.
It's like, what is the basic thing that you do in a day to structure your day so that everything is integrated the way that it is, no matter. Say, for example, you do 2 hours of meditation, right? Well, what task can you do for 2 hours that's a meditative thing? Is it clean your house? Is it just sit there, right? Is it work on a project? Is it do a research paper that you're working on so that you can do a presentation on part of this for the community for like one of our videos, right? Or your own live stream. And so as we're going through and as you're connecting to these things and building out your own schedule, what would you say for people that are looking to start those kinds of things in their own lives?
Well, I mean, I would say don't start with 2 hours. Like that's something not to go up with. Start at like 15 minutes. You know, sit down and just listen. Forget your everybody sees, okay? And even then they don't take in and process what they're seeing correctly. They just see it, go with it. Stop. Take your eyes off, shut your eyes, do whatever. Sit there in a meditative state and listen, smell, feel, understand that there's other forces that are trying to connect to you, but not through vision, through understanding, through feeling, through intuition, your gut feeling, through smell. Like you might smell something out of the blue and have deja vu. Oh, I remember a time, and you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that could be a certain spirit trying to connect. There's so many things that could be if you would just allow it. People are afraid to allow it. And I have found that's, like.
No, so that brings up a good point. So they're afraid to allow it. They're afraid to allow that connection between them and spirit. Right? Let's talk about that connection between them and spirit, and you and spirit, as a matter of fact. Because the other day, you connected. You connected, sir.
Yes, I did.
How did you connect? What did you do?
Well, we were doing that incantation. I believe it's the weather spell. And as I called forth the elements, I literally felt as if something grabbed my fingers. It was a completely different feeling. It wasn't like the normal energetic, tingly feeling that I get in my fingers when I'm working with the energy. This was a whole nother like, hey, thank you. Nobody thinks of us anymore. And it caught me off guard, man. I pulled my hand back. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Like that freaks me out. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't ready for that. It wasn't in my normal practice. So it kind of caught me off guard. But it was cool. Now that I sit down and think about it, it's like, okay, like I was touched. I feel like a TV show. I was touched. You know what I mean? Like,
right? So, in that moment of being touched by spirit, right? I mean, and that's a whole other thing. Is like you wanted to communicate with these things. Did you ever think you would be fucking touched by one?
No.
Did you ever think you could be touched by one like that?
I mean, working in the paranormal, I've been touched before. I've been punched. I've been made sick. I've been tripped. I've been locked in rooms. Like, I've had a lot of things happen to me, but never like a cloud just grabbed my hand and shook it. You know what I mean? Like that's what it was. A big fluffy cloud just grabbed my hand. It was weird, really, but it was awesome because there were so many feelings that rushed in through that point at that time that it was too much for my brain to even process at the time. It was great.
And That's why those notes are so important, because again, it's like you're doing your first client work this week, doing your first spirit interaction this week, doing all of your major firsts when it comes to major interaction, spells, evocations, spirits, natural environmental manipulation, like the local environment, right? Crowley used to define a spell as anything that modifies the environment in accordance with your will, right? Magic is the means in the subtle sciences, which is a science that is not suitably described. So we have a default term, right? So whatever it is that we're working with here, whatever energy it really is, sorcery is as good a word as any, because we're dealing with the source of these things. What is the source of the connection? In this case, it was your compassion. Your compassion, not just for you, but for the environment that you're in, so that way, when you make your petitions and when you're calling these things down, it's not just for you, it's for others.
Right.
Because you're doing this not because you need it for you to gain your benefit of being good, right? But you're doing it so that way you're uplifting everything else along the way, and the energy just flows.
Right. I'm like a conduit.
Exactly. I love that term. Like, that's what it means to be like a steward of this power. It's like this is how, again, we get to be like the Gandalf kind of thing, where it's like we are the intermediary of the energy. It's like there's us, there's the energy, right? The energy does what the energy wants, whatever the energy needs to, right? We have to be in the right state in order to get the energy to move in the right way we need it to, so that way when it comes down, it's in the right rate of vibration, so it doesn't fuck off the results,
Everything is vibration. So when you're in line with the universe, that vibration has a straight path. It can flow right through you. You know what I mean? To where it needs to be, to what it needs to do, to where it needs to go. Like, and when you understand that, and you can open that. It's great. It's awesome. It's a whole new experience. Like my tarot card said, it's a new adventure. Take that leap. Okay, okay, I am, and I take that leap and get touched. It's like, okay, much confirmation for me. Like, I don't need no more confirmation. I sleep good at night. I know, I'm here doing what I need to do when I need to do it. And I'm not being bullheaded no more. And now like I said, now that I'm following some people call it guardian angel, some people call it, your intuition, your gut feeling. I would just say my ancestors. I follow my ancestors because there's different entities that I deal with, different gods that I give offerings, different goddesses that I thank for. The birds being outside my window, or making it rain. All these deities have been forgotten. And it's sad. It's really sad. Especially when you understand it, like, we're only here for a short time, and then we're forgotten. So eventually, we're going to feel how they feel. It's, again, that Ouroboros. It all goes back to I love it.
Oh, yeah. And then you get those influences acting upon mankind again, and getting them to be like, okay, well, we acted upon mankind thousands of years ago, but we're still going to do it. We're still relevant. It's just, how do we form our relevancy in the modern era, right?
Right.
And so this is the challenge that I have for every single occultist that are out there, is like, what's your narrative, right? What's the kind of magician, occultist, sorcerer, witch, wizard, whatever you want to be, and how are you going to become the best at it that you can be for what it is that's your life path, right? Like, I'm not saying you have to go out there and be the biggest badass on the battlefield, right? And I don't like doing that. You can help, right? You can connect to the flow, and you can do what you did for the client the other day. And, that's one of those things where we have to be careful how we word things, and when it comes to client work, for privacy. So I'm not going to get too much other than congratulations on your first one. Like, that's a huge deal.
It was great. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. Like, I always enjoy working with cards and gods. Magic, craft. I love working with craft. But to just actually get out there and start doing it, like, was great because it wasn't for me. You know, I mean, none of this is for me. It's all for the community, and society. That's what I'm here for. You know, I do it. It's what I do. You know? And it makes it a lot more fulfilling when I know that like I'm already taken care of. My life's already planned out. I'm doing it. Like it's there. You know, to be able to help people to understand that, to teach them the basics of hermetics, or how the world works, or even mythology, Christianity, Judaism. That I spent 10 years, helping them to understand that it's metaphorically, and there's so much bigger of a world. Like it's great. When you see people open up and wake up to the fact that, wow, I'm not just some puny human living on Earth going through hell. Like I'm an actual divine creature. Like I'm from a bigger. I'm only a small piece of a bigger God. You know what I mean? Like I'm here to do a certain thing. Now I know what that thing is, and I'm focused. Go. Watch out. Watch out.
That's fantastic. Oh, I love it. Do you have any final thoughts? I want to keep it around a half hour, Dan, or right around 31 minutes. Any closing thoughts that you give to our audience today?
Well, just, never stop reading. Never stop researching. Never stop finding the truth. If you find the truth, don't stay closed up. Show it to everybody. Teach it to people. Let people know, because especially our younger generations, like that's important. They need to know so that they can teach the younger ones after them. Like it's been lost, it's been forgotten and stomped out. It's time we bring it back. It's time we show people the truth. You're a much more you're a divine being, hence I'm the divine sorcerer, man. You are divine.
Outstanding, Mike. Outstanding. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for everybody that's watching and catching the replay. So it is already on our Facebook page, on our Twitter page, and it'll be up on our YouTube and our Instagram later this afternoon. So thank you all for watching, and see you next Wednesday, bright and shiny, 7 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Eastern. Bye for now, y'all, and thanks for watching the Sorcerer Summit. Be sure to like and subscribe.